Let's play some hockey. Stars Blues Game 3, series tied at 1. Well, Blues wins have been nail-biting finishes.
History, Jeff. Okay, your game will be the opening game of the Nat Stadium.
Clearly, the Wizards are not the same team that they were in the beginning of this season. They are definitely a force to be reckoned with. You could see the defending champions here tonight playing.
All right, see, now you can see my dress. I have suddenly reappeared, yes. So I wanted everyone, obviously, you have to see my dress. You have to see my clothes because I think that, what's so fun about being a girl is getting dressed up. Unfortunately, men don't have as much fun as we do. I mean, we get to do the extensions, we get to do makeup, we get to put lashes on. I mean, what else, right? And we get to wear like fun dresses and all of that stuff. So I figured, God, that's a huge part of my show that I think is just missing. And even though my show is about sports, it's about controversial stuff, it's about the grind, the effort, the hustle, I still think that at the end of the day, I'm a girl and I still like to dress up and all of that stuff and be in the mirror and have fun and be all the girl that I want to be. So anyway, without further ado, I just want to show you my dress. Yes. Is that cute or what? I think that dress is adorable. What you think, Michael?
It's lovely. I saw it at CVS. It's very nice.
See this dress at no CVS. And if you did and I paid $1 for it, who cares? It's still cute and fabulous. And it's the way you have to represent, right? Yes. So anyway, that's my dress. And it flares out at the bottom. Igor, you didn't get the bottom of it. You have to get the whole thing, Igor. You can't just get one part of it. Yes. See that dress? Yes. That dress is all that. Yes. Yes, Igor, you have to show the bottom because the bottom, I think, is so adorable. Anyway, that's my dress. It's so cute. I was going to wear something else, and then I decided to wear this dress because I felt like it just represented summer. It represented fun, sexiness, and all of that stuff that I like to be. So I like my dress. Anyway, and in walks my son, too. As you can tell, this is the hustle. You get to see everything behind the scenes that's going on in the back of me, all the stuff I'm doing, and all the things that make WLVS Listen Vision Live online, listenvisionlive.com, all that it is. And what makes it so special, I think, is the fact that it has a real urban style to it. It has a neighborhood style, and it just kind of brings you back to the roots of DC because I feel like there's a part of DC roots that is missing. And the very thing about DC is just like the neighborhoods sometimes. And I grew up in this neighborhood right down the street at 6th and O Street. Yes, I'm an O Street girl. So not from where Michael's from, because where Michael's from, he's like the Cosby Kid of DC. Michael grew up on the upper part of DC. He didn't know nothing about down here. He tried to act like he knew what was going on down here, but he did. But anyway, and I went to Howard across the street. And I grew up right there on 6th Street. My sisters rented a house, and I lived with them. And I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and then I went to Howard University. So all of this brings me back home, and I'm so excited to have Michael on my show today, as well as my son. We're going to get into some major subjects today. So without further ado, we're going to move. We're actually going to go over there, guys. We're actually going to go on the set today. We're not going to stay in this. I only stayed over here so everyone could see my fun dress today. But we're actually going to move on over there to the studio and get into some serious immigration and all the stuff that's going on at the border for these young Mexican children that are unaccompanied by any adults that must feel pure horror by what's going on at the border right now. So we're going to get into all that and talk about that. So, hey, don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back with The Hustle. We're going to be talking with Michael. And then we're also going to talk about some D.C. politics and find out what's going on with Michael. Because, he got a book out and, he thinking about running for office, but, he ain't really said nothing to anybody. So he being a little on the down low about that thing. But anyway, so we'll get into all that when we come right back with The Hustle. Yes, don't go anywhere. I'm coming right back.
Back and forth game all night long.
And they say that basically he influenced, Muhammad Ali. And he said, listen, what you...
A second, but I just wish that you could elaborate a little bit more about what it felt like to go through that elimination game. And given that opportunity this year, how would you guys do it differently? And if you both could answer the question, I'd appreciate it.
Well, differently is coming into this season without having knee surgeries and everybody being healthy. That's the key for our team. Hurt.
He left 93 seconds into the first quarter. He collided with a teammate and hurt his left knee. Don't know what's going to happen for the future with the playoffs, but anyway, Kevin Durant never returned back to the game.
Hey everybody, I'm Alina Neves, courtside at Capital One Arena, where the Washington Wizards, who are 9-5, take on the Miami Heat, who are 6-8. Now, as you know, the Washington Wizards beat the Heat in Miami, so tonight's going to definitely be a revenge for the Miami Heat. And the big scorer tonight was Bradley Beal with 20.
Yes. Here we are. So a little different perspective right here on the set, but nonetheless, welcome to The Hustle. We have our nation's capital, former D.C. council member, Ron Brown, Commerce Secretary Ron Brown's son. Lots of history in his family. I'm so happy to have him each and every month on my show. So, Michael, what's going on? What is going on? And welcome to my son as well, PJ. As you guys know, PJ's here.
Well,
So-
I'm still tripping on the whole thing about your dress. I'm glad your son didn't witness what occurred before you came in.
Excuse
She was talking about
me.
her dress. She talked about how she got it from CVS.
I
And everybody was very happy. Very impressed.
did not say I got my dress was a gift, by the way. Excuse
Oh,
me.
very good. Very lovely.
Okay. Gift to myself.
CBS.
I thought my dress was rather cute. Anyway, it's a nice dress for the summer, and there's going to be a lot of women that's going to ask me about my dress. Trust that.
I believe.
Nice little
Yes.
sundress.
Huh?
Nice little sundress.
Oh, thank you very much. See, my son approves it. I can't believe it. Anyway, he never approves what I wear. So, Michael, we got a lot of stuff to get in. What is 45 doing? I mean, what's going on at the border? How do we deal with this? This is such a huge issue right now. I can't imagine what these children are going through down there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And what's happened is 45 in his administration have and Stephen Miller, who works in the White House and under his portfolio is immigration policy. And they've overcompensated. What they tried to do is to deter families from coming up from Central America through Mexico to the southern border. By saying, the conditions are so terrible, you don't get treated right, you get arrested, that may keep families from coming. However, what they did not calculate for, because they didn't listen to the prior administration, the Obama administration tried to tell them during the transition that whatever bad conditions are at our southern border, it's better than what they're facing at home. And that's from disease to crime to war, to folks stealing their money, to kids getting kidnapped. Everything's better because the hope is that you will get to the United States eventually, and that's the promised land.
Oh, wait a minute.
But 45's administration said if we have all these and they have no heart and they have no compassion. So they've put these terrible conditions in, made it the way they are. And now because of the public pressure, maybe they'll start to make the conditions better.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it was by design.
It was by design, you're saying, to put children who are there by themselves. Because from what I understand, when Obama, to separate families, right. But from what I understand, when Obama was in office, he would not he would somehow unify the child with the parent. Like he really wouldn't, there was no way that you could have an unaccompanied minor
Correct.
at the border.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So would he encourage them to go back home?
Well,
What would
you go through the process. You go through the normal immigration process.
So
which is
basically, you
apply-
didn't have families broken up. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
But I'm wondering, how is it that we have all these
There was also something
unaccompanied
called-
minors, though?
Well, there was something called catch and release.
Oh.
So if you're not coming in legally, you come in illegally, you get caught. You obviously put where you're going,
Okay.
who your relatives are you're going to stay with,
Okay.
so folks can find you and send you a court order when you have to come to court.
Okay.
What 45's administration had a problem with is catch and release wasn't working because people were getting caught, released, and then not coming back to court. Kind of true in a lot of cases and not accurate in other cases.
Okay.
So what 45 has done, he eliminated catch and release, even though now he is releasing because there's nowhere to put people.
Okay.
His policy, it's all kind of about his base. His base does not like of-color immigrants, so he doesn't like of-color immigrants. And whatever he has to do to make sure that they're happy with his policies by making kids, who cares? A lot of his base don't care if families get split up. They don't care. They're of-color immigrants, so I don't care about them.
Oh my goodness. But what I don't understand is, how is it that you're getting unaccompanied minors? Are the kids going down there and just being without the consent of their parents, or the parents are just saying, here, you go and you try to get across the border as best you can?
Well, there are some cases where you have traffickers who are, the adults are using the kids to get in. But those are not, it's not their family.
Okay.
So
All right.
yes, there is some level of corruption going on, no question about that. But it's a very small percentage. What 45 will have you believe, it's a large percentage. What's coming in is MS-13, gang members, criminals, rapists, all this kind of stuff, when that's not the case.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So if you have kids there who are unaccompanied, I mean, because how many people do we have any kind of idea as to what the numbers are? I know that they were saying today that there was about 100 and something kids that are have been transferred back to the places that are unsanitary, that the conditions that they're living in, they remove them, then they put them back in, or what was the situation?
There's a lot of
regarding that?
confusion, and frankly, if you listen to some members of Congress, they don't believe that Homeland Security has the numbers accurate. The numbers are not accurate.
That it's actually more.
No one really knows. No one really knows. The 45 has lost complete control, and what's happened is sometimes when they're so overcrowding, they'll put folks on a bus and just drop them off at a 7-Eleven and say good luck.
7-Eleven where?
In Texas?
In Texas?
Or in Arizona or wherever.
Oh, so they will give them they'll let them in the country then.
Well, they're doing it out of frustration. Now
Oh.
it's kind of like the catch and release, but they're trying to make it seem like, oh, it's overcrowding because the policies are bad, so we just have to just let them go.
How come it just seemed like, okay, so I'm confused. How did Obama deal with this differently than Trump is dealing with this?
Because when you deal with something with compassion, it's different, and people understand how difficult it is. But when you're doing with compassion, this administration, there's no compassion.
Okay.
So that's what makes it much uglier and nastier and filthier for these young people and for these kids. And then the Trump administration, the 45's administration went into court and tried to argue that a toothbrush, toothpaste, a towel, a pillow, and a bar of soap is not essential. If anything's essential, it's those items. So they just look silly.
So they tried to argue?
They tried to argue in court that why do they need that stuff? They don't need it. We'll let them take a shower every couple of weeks.
Oh, must have been a hell of a lawyer.
Yeah, well, it's, she's an embarrassment to 45's administration.
But I'm confused. Okay, so we've had immigration issues for a long time. Okay, for a long time. But this, I think, is the worst that I
Worst
have
it's ever been.
ever seen
Worst it's ever been.
people be treated. I mean, the absolute worst.
It's awful.
It's awful.
It's awful.
And then on top of that, we can't see any visuals of it.
Well, because, you've heard me say this a lot. Alina 7, is elections have consequences. And when you either don't vote and you stay at home, your vote's for the other person. So if you stayed home because, you didn't like Hillary for whatever reason, let's say you had a million reasons not to like her.
Because you were hating on.
And you stayed at home, that was a vote for 45. You can say it wasn't, but it was. And so people have to be engaged. Oh, I need a cigar.
Cuban, the cigar smoker, just walked in. Anyway.
So you need different kinds of leadership, and you get different kinds of policy.
Okay. But still, even if we do have a different kind of leadership, but we don't seem to have immigration policies that have been ever introduced before. I mean, I just can't understand. How could you be so horrible? I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it. I've been watching the TV all day, like, I just don't get this.
I can't stress enough. 45 is leading for his base, not for the entire country. When you're leading for the entire country, you have more compassion. You understand the plight of folks that are coming. You keep aid going to those Central American countries so they can have a better way of life there so they don't come. But if they do come, you have a policy. This particular president does not care about the folks in the middle. All he cares about is his base and making them happy.
Okay, so what is ICE and what is their responsibility?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
If you ask the folks on the right side of the spectrum,
okay,
they will say ICE's job is to be tough, round these people up, make sure they know their responsibilities, make sure they come back to court.
Okay.
If you ask the left side, ICE is supposed to be, yes, they're the enforcement branch for immigration.
They are the enforcement branch.
So they do have a job. There's no question about that. I am not one of those folks that says eliminate ICE.
Okay.
I do not think ICE should be eliminated.
Okay.
But depending on who the head of the government is, in this case 45.
When was it started? My bad.
ICE was, I don't know the year it was started. It really
before Trump's presidency.
Oh, no, before.
Okay.
And that's when Obama had it, and Clinton had it.
What does it stand for?
What's that? Immigration, I don't know.
Control,
Control something. Good question.
Yeah.
And so
control and enforcement, something like that.
So their job is to, under this government, is to be tough, no compassion, and be difficult as possible. Hence, elections have consequences. The prior administration was more compassionate. But ICE has a job, so I'm not for eliminating ICE.
Okay, but if ICE had a job, then that means that there were certain procedures and protocols that were put in place, that were established a long time ago.
Correct.
How do you walk away from whatever the procedure and the protocols were that have been long in place? I'm sure that when Obama came in, he didn't destroy all the protocols.
I'm sorry, have you not been watching this presidency for the last 2.5 years? They could care less about policy. They could care less about precedent. Frankly, some people would say they could care less about the law. So they don't care. They're going to do what they want. And it's Congress's job to push back and say, no, 45, you can't do that. But with the Senate being Republican, there's only so much the House and Nancy Pelosi can do.
I understand that. But at the end of the day, how do you get away with an agency that is treating people inhumanely? That still goes against our country and our policy
and
our value system. Yes.
Because
so, I mean, I just don't see how you can just get away with doing things like that.
I don't know. How has he gotten away with everything else?
But that's what I'm saying, Michael. I just don't get it.
A lot of people are frustrated. He's just blowing through all the norms and all the policies because he knows, to your question, no one can do anything about it. And for the first time, I think America is seeing how fragile our Constitution and law is. If you have a head of government that does not care, this is what can happen.
Wow.
Hence, elections have consequences, and not just for the head, not just for the presidency. You got to vote for your Senate seat. You got to vote for your congressional seat.
Right.
You got to vote on the local level. You have to vote all the time for all the offices.
I just don't get it. I mean, where are we as a country that we are, even if it is your base, that you are accepting of the fact that you can treat young children as inhumanely passable and get away with it? Where are we as a country that even allows anybody's base to treat children like that?
Where are we as a country where the head of government, 45, can call people that come from of-color countries shithole countries? Where are we where the head of government can say one particular race are criminals and racist? That's where we are right now with the president of the United States.
That's a powerful thing to say,
and it's a
Michael,
shame.
and it's true.
Where are we with somebody
It's
that
so
treats
true.
women the way he does? That's where we are.
It's true. It's true. By the way, it's called the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Thanks, Larry.
There you go.
Yes. So there you go. You got it there. Okay. So,
Immigration and Customs.
is there any pressure? Okay. So where does all this where does this put the Nancy Pelosi,
And
House Speaker?
you know,
Where does this put her?
First of all, Speaker Pelosi.
And what kind of power does she have can she step in and go, oh, wait a minute, no, this is not going to be allowed under my watch. Oh, no. Can she step in and do that?
She can say it, and they can put forth legislation on the House side.
Okay.
But when it goes over to Mitch McConnell's Senate,
Okay.
it dies. That's why they call the Senate right now the graveyard. Because any bill that you put up, whether it's equal rights for voting, whether it's immigration policy reform, whether it's getting out of particular wars, whether it's tax cuts for the rich, whatever it is, the House can put up whatever it likes, but it dies in the Senate. So Speaker Pelosi, who I respect enormously, she's a true G.
She is.
She cannot do. She can only do but so much because the Senate is controlled by Mitch McConnell and the Republicans, who are going to defend this president after he gets impeached, because he's going to get impeached, and then the Senate will find him not guilty, and then he'll come out and have a press conference. Well, no, then there'll be an election, and we'll see what happens.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I
you were-
thought that she could do more.
You were on like the edge last time you were here, like.
Oh,
saying
right. I think what's happening. Yes, thank you for remembering. I was. He remembers. I was in the middle. I saw
You were in the
both
middle.
sides.
Yeah.
Why you think he's going to get it?
I think the difference now is that this administration, during normal oversight and hearings, are ignoring everything. If they want a document from you, nope. They want you to come be a witness, nope. They want you to just answer some basic questions, nope. And so they've just said no to everything. They're stonewalling, delaying, and I think now it's time to say, you know what, enough. And I don't think this should stretch all the way through the summer. I think they need to start impeachment hearings in the next month or so. I think the one witness they should have, though, is Bob Mueller. Let Robert Mueller come in, say out of his mouth what the report meant, and then trigger it.
Really?
That's what I think. But I understand Speaker Pelosi, as you know, that I was on the edge, and I understand her argument is let the voters decide, let's just investigate him, and let the voters decide. I think he should have the word impeachment next to his name.
Okay, so now I sent you some things that I saw on Facebook today, only because I really need to say some of this stuff, because this is the stuff that's kind of circulating around our country. Obviously, this stuff was on Facebook, and I feel like to a certain extent it has some merit, right? It says children die in the U.S. custody. Who cares, right? Hundreds die in mass shootings. Who cares? Now, all of that is basically coming out of Trump's mouth, right? That's what the caricature looks like. Then it says thousands die without health care. Trump says, who cares, right? And then it says Iran shoots down a robot plane. And he says, this cannot stand. We cannot accept this, that they have shot down our drone in Iran.
And they still punked him.
And they still
And they
punked
still
him
punked him.
today.
And
Did
they
you
still-
hear what they...
Of course, they still punked him. He's supposed to be this tough, and they still everybody punks him in the end. Putin really punks him. Putin punks him the most.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because he
About
hasn't stood up to anything. Putin came into our elections in 2016 and wreaked havoc.
But he
there was
got
no
him
hurt.
elected,
Right,
though.
so he but you can play the game.
I think he loves
Of course,
Putin.
loves.
Yeah.
Adores.
Yes.
And that's going to continue. He wants Putin again to meddle in the 2020 election because he thinks he'll want him to get, because Putin likes having him in because he knows he can play him.
Right.
And so he's not going to want a more experienced person like Biden or Hillary Clinton because he's not going to be able to play those people. Mm-hmm. So, it is what it is. Elections have consequences.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but this is more than a consequence. This has been an
but he tore up-
all-out setback, though, in our country. I feel like it's been a setback from political reasons. I feel like it's been a setback in terms of race relations. Yep. It's a setback in terms of, I just feel like there's like a cloud over our country. Look at the farming. Even I was looking at that today. Farmers are suffering in our country. It just doesn't,
But
seems like
what's
we're
so
in a very
intriguing-
unsettled.
But those tariffs have devastated the farming community in this country. And some of these folks are so 45 supporters that they don't care if they're about to lose their farm. And that makes me wonder, do you really think like he thinks? Is that important to you about race that you say, I got to have this guy in? And that's even more troubling. You are willing to lose your livelihood, but I'm still going to support this clown.
Yeah, but but hear me out when I say this. Maybe it could have been, because I've heard this from some people who have voted for him, that they believed in his message and believed that the common man, the blue collar worker, had some leadership. Okay, he was speaking to them. He was speaking their language, right? So now they feel to a certain extent hoodwinked because their businesses are suffering. I see a lot of businesses that are suffering now, and these are maybe white Americans who may have voted for him and believed in his message, right? That he was going to save the day and that this was going to be a day where they would have a day of reckoning for them, where they would have a voice in Congress. What do you say? What do you say about that? Like people
absolutely.
who honestly,
But they won't
believed
give
in
credit.
his message.
But part of the message was economic prosperity, and that's fine. A lot of presidents run on that, or candidates run on that. But he has refused to give credit where credit is due. He came in with an economy that was humming. When Obama inherited Bush's economy, it was terrible. We were in a recession. Mm-hmm. When 45 inherited Obama's economy, it was rolling. Has it gone up a little bit? Yes, because that's the nature of economies. But just like you're seeing now, you see a lot of the leading economists are saying this is about to take a dip because those tax cuts for the rich and for business have not really worked. They never were going to, as other economists will tell you, they never were going to work for the middle class. They were only going to be good for the rich. And now that the bills are coming due, we've lost all that revenue as a country. You got to figure out now, what do we do about infrastructure that's going to cost $1 trillion? And how do you spend that when the money's not coming in the Treasury because you gave tax cuts to the most wealthy folks in our country? So, yes, the economy's doing well. And yes, there are some farmers that think he's doing an okay job. But still, there are some who are willing to sacrifice their livelihood just to support this guy. I don't understand it either.
But that's a tendency with those types of voters, that they vote sometimes against their best interests, their own best interests.
Unless you believe in what comes out of 45's mouth.
Or whether you disbelieve, maybe now.
If you disbelieve.
Right.
We won't know till 2020.
But what sense do you get from people when you're talking now? Because I don't feel like his support is the same. Even in his own base, I don't think his base is as strong.
See, I think maybe it is. I think his between 35 and 41% is solidly his. And then you have the other 40% or a little more on the left side, no matter who the nominee is. It's the middle that he won before. That's where I think folks are coming back to the Democratic Party, because the folks in the middle can't stand what they're seeing.
So but if that's the case, does that mean, though, that the Democrats now have to go after who? Who will the Democrats go after to expand their base? Obviously, they have the African American communities, but I'm saying, do they go after the white female community a little bit more aggressively, or I mean, how do they expand their base a little bit more?
Well, it depends how you look at it. Of course, everyone says, "Oh, we have to expand the base. We have to make the tent bigger."
Right.
Of course, but really strategically, and when you're talking more on the political science side, the electoral college, you can strategically know where you have to do better. There is something called the blue wall. The blue wall is the electoral college. It's Pennsylvania, Ohio, Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Those are traditionally blue Democratic states.
Okay.
That's hence why the first black president was ever elected, because Obama won those states. Most states, you know where they are. They're the red or blue. Some are purple. They go back and forth. Virginia's becoming more blue. Is that what's happened for certainly many years, and what Trump did is he blew past the blue wall and won those particular states. He won Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, which is unlike Republicans have ever done. And then when you do that, you can be president. So the goal is really to focus on those states. I'm not telling people not to vote in Maryland or anywhere else.
Right.
But you asked the question, and I'm telling you, yes, of course you want to expand everything, but you got to focus on those states.
Was it because of his message, or was it because Hillary just did a terrible job in campaigning in those states?
I think a lot of both.
What was it?
I think a lot of both. A lot of people, Secretary Clinton did not go to Wisconsin as much as she should have, because again, she was taking some of that for granted. And then he was in Wisconsin saying, "I got you. Why isn't she here?" And so some voters said, "Yeah, you know what? Hey, I'll give this guy a shot. Maybe he's right. But obviously it's turned out to be a disaster."
But if those states are so powerful, though, how do you miss that? As you've already been through an election with your husband twice. I mean, you've already served as secretary, of state, Secretary of State. How do you miss that, though? I'm saying, as someone who has her level of experience, she was senator of New York, right? I mean, how do you miss that?
Well,
though?
you miss it when, again, not everybody's perfect and you make mistakes. And clearly they made a strategic mistake thinking it was going to be okay, maybe spending too much time in states you had no chance of winning. And that's kind of what happens in elections.
Like what state do you think
They probably
she spent more time
probably spent a lot of time in Florida.
Oh,
and
okay.
Florida, even though it can be a blue state,
Yes.
yes, you got to go to Miami, but people think Florida is just South Florida.
Right.
You got a very rural country, frankly, redneck part of Florida too, which is the Panhandle.
Yes.
And they got a lot of people.
Yeah.
So she spent a lot of time in Florida. Again, nothing wrong with spending time in
The
Florida.
time there, right.
But you got to also go to your base and make sure they're shored up. And that didn't happen. I think this time, when you see the Democratic nominee, you will see a whole different approach, making sure they focus on those kind of what's called the Rust Belt states, the ones I just mentioned.
So you think that Biden would probably not make those same mistakes?
Well, he's from Pennsylvania. I mean, that's the other thing. You're pretty much, you can't use the word guarantee in politics, but pretty certain that Pennsylvania will be back blue.
Right.
And that was a huge part for Trump, for 45 to win by winning Pennsylvania. You take Pennsylvania out and get back to, even if you take one more of those states out of the Rust Belt, it's back to being what it should be.
Wow. How about Democrats going after people like PJ's?
Well, that's what there's in the primary, they'll touch PJ and millennials a little bit, but really the focus will come for the general election, because you have certain candidates that really go after millennials: Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and then the challenge is depending on who PJ is supporting or will support, is if his or her candidate does not win, they have to stay engaged for the general election. You can't say, "Oh, my candidate didn't win, I'm going home." That's what Trump.
That's what happened.
That's what 45 is counting on. Right. He's counting on people saying, "Oh, Bernie's people were pissed off. They're not going to come out," and that's what happened. So people have to stay engaged, even if your person does not win. You got to stay woke.
Right. Right, which means that, okay, so let me ask you this question. What is normally the numbers? Okay, if you're still supporting the Democratic Party, but your candidate does not win the nomination for the party, what are the numbers? Do you have any idea, like, what does the party lose? What does the party gain? Say Biden wins the nomination, though. What's the percentage of people go, oh, my candidate didn't win, I'm jumping ship and I'm gonna go to the Republican side?
You know what? I don't.
Because I don't like,
I see what you're saying.
I don't like Biden, so I'm gonna, you know what I mean?
That part. That part is small.
Jump ship.
No, that part
numbers.
is small. That part is small.
Oh, it is.
The issue is whether they stay at home on election day.
Oh, okay.
So, and keep in mind, you stay at home on election day, you're voting for the other person. Don't think you're making some point. My father used to always say, he said, do you want to make a point or do you want to win? And in our part, we've always had this thing of, well, I want to make a point. I want clean air and clean water. We all want clean air and clean water.
Right.
But if your candidate doesn't win, you have no chance of getting clean air and clean water. So you might as well make sure even if it's not exactly everything you want, you can't want this guy. So we need to the American voter, especially the voter that gets frustrated, frankly needs to grow up. And I don't mean in age. I mean in politics, it's hard. It is, but you got to stay involved and make sure you stay on your side, stay with your party. Like, for example, I'll give you a prime example. In the primary on the GOP side, there were 17 candidates. They all hated 45. 45 ended up winning. All of them endorsed them.
Oh, I know.
All of them. All of them. You had Marco Rubio licking his boots. Ted Cruz licking his boots.
That?
Well, look, whatever the reason for it.
Wait, there was one person, though.
Who did not. Carrie Freeney? Who?
No. Who? Yes, that was one. Bush's brother, too, Jeb Bush.
Oh,
the one he said it was born.
That's true.
The one who said he was like, well, he's
He
born.
said he has no energy.
Yeah, that's what it was. He had no energy. You know, I mean, nobody can fillet somebody like 45, though. You got to give him some credit.
Oh, no, he's the best. He's one of the best because he has no filter. He does not care. When you have no filter and you don't care, it's easy to be how he is.
He says some mean things,
does.
though. He really says some mean things. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Okay, so, Michael, what would you say about this whole drone thing? How do you think that was handled? I mean, because I want to kind of get into that, too.
Well,
were we supposed to respond to that? I mean, what are we supposed to do? You know what?
I think there could have been a proportional response of just hitting some radio towers, some satellite, maybe go in and do a online hack. I mean, there are certain things you could do without any loss of life. Going in with some missiles. Here's the problem.
Okay.
And the challenge that and it's not just, and I'm not defending him, let's be clear, but the problem 45 has, as other presidents do, if you take on Iran, Israel is in deep trouble because their missiles can't reach the United States, but they can reach Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and they're going after Israel, and Israel will get hammered. Now, Israel will hit back, so the Middle East will just be a mess. And the biggest casualties will be our ally, Israel. So it's not as easy to just go in and say, let's just take them out, like Iraq, for example. We went through the Iraqi war. Oh, they have weapons of mass destruction. Once you knew they didn't have mass destruction, Israel was not in trouble. So we could go in, knock them down, to arrest Saddam Hussein, and it was over. That was easy. Iran will not be easy because they do have weapons, have a strong military, and their stuff is real deal. Not like Iraq, where Saddam was just playing the game trying to act like he had something.
Right.
Iran,
they got real money.
They're real money because of the oil.
Right.
Real weapons, a real military force, and they hate Israel. You combine all that, that's why you don't hit them. So he got punked. Ooh. Now, again, I think everyone would have understood hitting some radio towers and that, but who knows how Iran responds to that. Oh, you're hitting our radio tower? We'll just hit an apartment building in Tel Aviv.
So do you think that's really what pulled back? Because I figured, I was like, what is going on at the White House right now and at the Pentagon that controlled his move? Because to me, 45 was talking like, oh no, we ain't taking this. Oh no, you gonna get something. But you're gonna pay for this somehow, some way. And then all of a sudden I saw the caption on CNN that said
They pulled the fighters back.
he pulled back. And then I'm going, okay, but you can't pull back to the point that you don't send any message. You do nothing. Then they're like,
Wait, you're talking about just the drone. Don't forget they hit a couple oil tankers the week before.
the week before.
So
Yes,
they're just punking him left and right. But again,
But
Iran,
he's not someone who takes that either, though. You know that. That's not his type of personality
we know
either. Someone's controlling him.
We know he talks a lot.
Okay.
But I don't know if we've seen
Facts.
any real strength.
Okay.
He had a lot of lip.
He does. Okay, we'll
Lot
just
of
say
lip.
he
Lot
talk.
of lip.
He got a lot of
A
mouth.
lot of mouth. But name something we've seen him stand up to the leader of North Korea. I haven't seen any stand up. And he's still firing off test missiles. Have you seen him stand up to Putin? Have you seen him stand up to
He's
Iran?
not gonna stand up to Putin.
He's
Putin
not,
is-
no, but name somebody he has stood up to, besides his own allies. So
he mistreats some of his. Yeah. He
So remember,
does. He
so they hit
mistreats-
those tankers. What happened was he never should have torn up the Iran nuclear deal that President Obama got Iran to sign. President Obama got Iran to the negotiating table. Whether you like the negotiations or not, whether you think the deal was perfect or not, everything was stable. Now it's unstable. You never want the Middle East unstable. And that's where it is now because he tore up the agreement. And remember, he tore up the agreement. Maybe he didn't think it was perfect. And a lot of people didn't think it was perfect, but it was okay. But he tore it up because Obama did it. He's almost anything Obama did, he's trying
Anything
to pull
Obama
back.
did, he's gonna be
And that's going to
anti.
happen to him because the next
Right.
president is going to pull back all his stuff. It doesn't make any sense what he's doing.
But what was about the the Iran deal that you think was helpful in some capacity, if you know it?
Absolutely. It lifted some sanctions off Iran so they could participate in this global economy.
Okay.
So they
okay.
could have a seat at the table, but in exchange, you got to stop all that nuclear development, stop buying uranium, stop buying all the things that you could build a nuclear weapon. That was the
weapons.
deal.
Okay.
And Iran, frankly, said, cool. Because they wanted, who wouldn't want to be part of the global community?
Right.
And so when you're part of the global community, you can sell your oil, sell your goods, have immigration. There's things you can do. I just can't build nuclear weapons. Okay. And you have independent folks coming to check to make sure you're not building, making sure your ports are not taking in any
They were
uranium.
open to that.
Open, they loved it.
They loved
They
it.
loved it.
Okay.
And then 45 come in and said, and they're like, oh, okay. And so let's go pop a tanker. What happens when you remember we used to discipline Pete, or I discipline my kids? They act up.
Right.
They act up. And when they act up, they put bombs on the side of tankers or they shoot down drones. You didn't see any of that stuff during the Obama administration?
No.
So tell me what the equivalent of strength is.
So how do you deal with it then at this point? I mean, because all you can do
You gotta
is
try-
sit back
Let
and
me tell you,
watch.
two things are gonna happen.
Watch disintegration
Yeah.
of a potential relationship that had come together. Obviously, it's going to disintegrate, and it's going to disintegrate even more.
We have two schools of thought. One, you got to figure out how to get Iranian leadership back to the table, and that means lifting sanctions and let them be part. But if you're Iran, and these are some savvy folks. He always thinks he's up against sixth graders. These are savvy people. You know what they're going to say? You know what they're saying? We're good till the next president. We're not going to the table, but now you have a threat. Don't fly your drones anywhere near us. We'll watch the tankers. We'll be okay. They'll do everything right now.
They're not going to mess with any tankers
I don't
now.
think you'll see anything. This is just my prediction.
They're
I
not
think
going to
you'll
mess
see-
with the
I think
ocean. They're not going to do anything
They have
like
made
that.
their point.
They made their point.
They made their point.
Got their respect.
And they'll be like, we're not coming to the table to this clown. We'll wait for the next president. Now, if he wins, clearly they got to come. But in the meantime, whatever.
In fact, we'll get on TV and we'll say that he's an idiot.
Yeah, right. It's playing his
Which
game.
which
They're
is
playing
what
his
they
game.
called him today. They basically called his
He
bluff.
said he was stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. It's just,
And then Trump fired off and said that if you continue, then you're going to be blown into obliteration.
Blah blah blah. He said that about everybody.
Okay, but do you think that someone at the Pentagon or someone sat down and said, "Listen, you can't just go in there and retaliate because you've got to consider
the consequences
to Israel."
Correct.
That's really the conversation that was held.
And the other part is not just Israel. Mm-hmm. It's the Straits of Hormuz, where all the oil tankers come from the Middle East.
Okay.
Since Iran, for example, Saddam Hussein did not have the power or the equipment or the army or the military to block off the Straits. Iran does. Now, blocking off that would basically stop any oil flow from the Middle East to the rest of the world. Wow. Devastating economies all over the place. Now, we are now producing more, but we still get from the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So that really is the second thing you got to think about. Do they put up a blockade so ships can't get to Japan, can't get to the Pacific Rim, can't get to Europe, because a lot of Europeans don't like using Russian oil. Mm-hmm. So it would be devastation to different parts of the world.
Right. But I still feel like you just can't let a drone and tankers.
You can if you're a punk.
You can if you're a punk. And you just sit back and you pull back and you consider Israel, but at the same time you have to consider our relations too.
45 is a punk. and they know it. Yeah, what do you have? You have a dog that has a lot of bark but won't bite? That's him.
Yeah, but he's also being advised not to bite
Michael.
Goodness,
I mean, it's not just thank goodness they have
someone
advisors.
Is containing
Absolutely.
him. I get that piece of it, but at the same time, we also need to. There's got to be somebody at the Pentagon that's saying, "Okay, pull back. We're not going to blow them to obliteration, but we are going to send a message." We're not sending any message.
No message.
Nothing.
I mean, we've all grown up with bullies like that have a lot of lip in the playground, and then when you meet them at the McDonald's parking lot, they don't show up. Or they're like, "Oh, my shoulder hurts. I'll get you tomorrow." Or they got their boys standing behind them. See, that's the thing. He doesn't have his allies standing behind him to have his back because he's pissed them off.
He's pissed everybody off.
Over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have Great Britain.
No,
he doesn't have Germany.
France.
He doesn't have France.
Yeah.
He doesn't have Belgium. He doesn't have Italy. He doesn't have Canada. He doesn't have all the places you go to have somebody have your back, and he's by himself.
That's kind of scary, though.
And the Iranians know that.
Yeah. Wow. That's not good, though, to put our country in that kind of position. That's pretty scary.
Y'all elected him.
I didn't elect him.
For those of you all who stayed at home, you elected him. Because you didn't like Hillary, because you didn't like Hillary for a million reasons, whatever. Yeah. I'm not saying there weren't some reasons not to like the secretary, but would you rather have her or this clown?
I just think that women just did not support her. I feel like women 53%. Just hated on her.
Yeah.
They just hated on her, and I felt
you
like
You think it was jealousy?
I just think that there's a part of us that just didn't support her.
Do you feel the same way about?
We were hating. There's men. I feel like, in particular, white men didn't come out and support her, but I also feel like women didn't come out and support her because for some reason she don't bring out the support me girls type of draw. She brings. I don't know if I want to support her. She brings that kind of energy out of women.
About Senator Harris and Senator Senator Warren?
Warren, I think, is pretty cool. I don't know how much she registers with some women. Now, Senator Harris, I think, is definitely going to register, and I would recommend what you said is for her to be considered as vice president because I think that she is so current for a lot of us, and she doesn't bring out that gene that
Hillary does.
Yeah, in the way that Secretary Clinton did. Unfortunately, she just, you know what I'm saying? She just doesn't bring out, the support that she needed. She just did not motivate that. So, to me. But
I'm sure-
and that's
I'm sure a
just
lot of
and
women
that's
felt that way.
personality. But I feel like she was robbed. If you got to know her and got to know all the stuff Secretary Clinton was a part of to help our society, then if you gave her the level of respect that she deserved, there is no way you should have passed over her in the way that she was passed over in that election. Really bad. I really feel like she was passed over. And I'm passionate about that. But
Clearly.
that's because, I told you she came to my hometown and she changed the life for
The Cape Verdean crew.
no, for children, no, for young,
I'm just
children
kidding. Yes.
who had mental retardation and who were stuck in their homes, and she changed their education for the better. And now these, kids are in classes and they're treated, you know what I mean? They're educated. They were not being educated. People were leaving them in their homes, and she recognized that, and she fought for that.
Elections have consequences.
I know, but it's just unfortunate that people did not get to see that. And I feel like they didn't do as good a job as the humanitarian that she is.
But keep in mind,
that
she did
message didn't come through
No,
enough.
absolutely. But keep in mind, she did win the popular vote. I know that annoys 45.
But
So
not
it's
where she needed
But
to.
not
have
in those states she needed to.
Yeah, not in the state she needed to.
Correct.
So, but anyway, really quick, because we're running out of time. This was such a good show. You were really so good about all the stuff.
Well, we would have had more time to talk if we weren't talking about your dress. The first 20
whatever.
minutes.
I
First
took
20
like
minutes.
2 minutes talking about my dress. Okay, so Michael, real quick, just tell us about DC politics real quick. What's going on, and where are you with this book? I'm here, and somebody told me that you were thinking about doing some stuff in DC, but I don't know. So I just want to hear from you.
First of all, those are just rumors. I'm not ready to comment on those rumors at this time.
Okay.
But what's happening in D.C. now, of course, there'll be an election in 2020.
2020.
And there'll be several council seats up.
Okay.
Obviously, vote for president.
Who else is up? Is the mayor up as well?
No. The mayor's seat will be up in 2022.
Oh, 2022 in DC. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
so
people
yeah.
don't have to wait if
Yep.
they want to vote for her or not vote for her.
Or if she runs. So,
If she
we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens. But obviously, you got a couple years before 2022.
Okay.
And
We
so,
want somebody to come get these cameras out of the city. But anyway, go ahead. That
I
ain't gonna
remember I used to talk about it all the time. I didn't think we should lie to residents and say, oh, it's for your safety. Of course you want people to slow down, but it's for revenue. Just admit it.
I hear that
just
one
admit it.
camera in DC makes $400
Yes.
million.
Not 400, but it probably makes a lot. I don't know about 400 million.
It's on,
I don't think it makes that much, but it makes a lot.
it makes,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't know about that. But
well,
it
I
makes
hear
a
that
lot.
it makes a lot
It
of dough.
makes a lot of
This
dough.
one camera
Which one, on New
is,
York Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah,
New
that's
York
the
Avenue
big
one.
Yeah, that one's an ATM machine right there.
That's
That'll
a
get you.
AT. Ooh.
But keep in mind the reason.
Y'all need to obey the speed limit,
Yes.
and then they can't make any money
But
off
since
that camera.
DC can't put toll booths up for it to get surrounding residents, a large percentage of those tickets on New York Avenue are folks coming in from Prince George's County. That's the only way we can get them.
Well, I'm just saying, I come in, I just
Yeah,
go
no,
$2.95.
yeah.
But, if you ask me if I wanted a toll booth, I might be interested in giving, $2, $5, $3 to come in the city. I would rather that than you charging me $150 for one ticket. I can't afford that. That's very expensive.
Wait,
It
every
is.
time you came in the city?
No, every time she gets hit with one of those speed cameras.
No. Toll booth.
Yes.
She would rather do a couple dollars or $5 rather than
Yeah.
a ticket. So she'd
Yes,
rather
so-
say, put the toll booths up, take the cameras out.
Yes. Okay, so we'll see you next month. We will see you next month because we got to go. We the shit is here. Yes, we got to go. Okay, so you coming
want me to,
back
like,
next
get
month,
up?
July?
You want me to
No,
get up? Oh, okay,
no,
all right.
we want to let We the Shit come in. All right, guys,
Well,
don't forget every Tuesday right here, 6 p.m. WLVS Radio. We have a great show coming up next week. You know, I celebrate women in July. I always have men on my show, so I'm trying to find women. But anyway, one of my best friends will be here. We will be doing a lot of fitness stuff and a lot of girly stuff, and she's going to be coming with all this health and wellness recipes. All the things that she does, y'all tune in and all that stuff on Facebook. Anyway, she'll be here next week. So we're going to be in a lot of fun. You'll see me in my fitness gear. I'll be having my trainer hat on next week. So anyway, yes, he's a Q. All right. Thank you, PJ. Yes, we are out. The hustle is out 6 p.m. The shit is coming up. Bye.